You ever hear that saying, never corner a wild animal? Well, let me tell you, that goes double for a combat nurse. This is the story of Clara and why a group of armed thugs learned that lesson the hard way. Clara wasn't your typical nurse. Sure, she had the gentle hands and the calming voice, but she'd also spent 2 tours in a field hospital where chaos was the daily special. She'd seen it all, done it all, and patched up more soldiers than she could count, often with nothing but grit and whatever was on hand. After her service, she just wanted a quiet life, working the night shift at a city hospital. Quiet, however, was not on the menu one particular Tuesday. It was around 3 a.m. The emergency room was eerily silent, a rare peace Clara was actually enjoying. That peace shattered when the automatic doors hissed open and 3 men stormed in. They weren't patients. Their eyes were frantic, their movements aggressive, and one of them was clutching a bleeding arm. The leader, a big guy with a face like a clenched fist, pointed a gun at the terrified receptionist. "We need a doctor now, and no cops." Clara stepped out from behind a curtain. Her face was calm, betraying none of the adrenaline surging through her. "I'm a nurse," she said, her voice steady. "I can help. Bring him over here." The leader hesitated, eyeing her. She looked unassuming, just a woman in scrubs. That was his first mistake. They shoved the injured man onto a gurney. Clara got to work, her movements quick and efficient. "It's a deep cut, but the bullet went clean through." "He's lucky," she said, her hands never stopping. As she worked, she was also observing. The leader was jumpy. The 3rd guy was nervously watching the doors. They were amateurs, scared and sloppy. That was their 2nd mistake. Clara knew the police had already been silently alerted by a panic button. She just needed to control the situation until they arrived. "I need some supplies from the dispensary," she announced, looking at the leader. "I need you to come with me. Your friend here." She nodded at the 3rd guy, "Can stay with his buddy." The leader grunted and followed her, gun still in hand. He thought he was in control. That was his final mistake. The dispensary was a small, windowless room crammed with shelves of medical supplies. "The sterile saline is on the top shelf," Clara said, pointing as the man reached up, shifting his balance and attention for just a split second. Clara moved. It wasn't a fancy martial arts move. It was pure, practiced instinct, honed in the furnace of a combat zone. She slammed the heavy metal door shut, spun the lock, and in the same fluid motion, grabbed a full heavy saline bag from a lower shelf. Before he could even register what happened, she swung it hard right into the side of his knee. The joint buckled with a sickening pop, and he went down with a roar of pain, his gun clattering across the floor. She didn't stop. She kicked the gun under a shelving unit, then grabbed a roll of medical wrap. By the time the man in the ER realized his boss wasn't coming back, Clara had the leader's hands and feet expertly bound. The wrap, designed to immobilize limbs, worked just as well on a whole person. When the SWAT team finally breached the ER, they found a surreal scene. One man was passed out from blood loss, his accomplice was surrendering with his hands in the air, and in the dispensary their formidable leader was wrapped up like a mummy, whimpering on the floor with a remarkably calm nurse checking his pulse. The officers were stunned. One of them looked at Clara, then at the trussed-up thug, and just asked, "How?" Clara simply shrugged, a small smile playing on her lips. "He forgot the #1 rule of the ER," she said. "Never, ever mess with the night nurse." So, if there's a lesson here, it's that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes they wear capes, and sometimes they wear scrubs. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you next time.